Before we jump into today's show, I've got a really exciting announcement to make. The autumn cohorts for Start Your Podcast group program are now open. There are 5 dates between September and October, and it's a 6-week program that will get you launched before Christmas. So if podcasting was on your to-do list this year, if you really want to get your podcast up and done by the end of 2023, then come and join me for one of those cohorts and let's make it happen. I have a free masterclass available for you called Understanding the Power of Podcasting. You can go over to donnaeade.com/masterclass, watch the masterclass and get access to that enrollment. I hope to see you in one of the autumn cohorts very soon. That's donnaeade.com/masterclass. Let's get back to the show. You're listening to the Wedding Procast UK, the place to be if you are a UK wedding professional looking to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade, 10-year wedding photography veteran and CEO at the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors. If you want to grow and streamline your business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you hit subscribe where you listen or join our email list at www.spwv.co.uk. You'll find the sign up form at the bottom of every episode, and by doing so, you won't miss a thing. So let's jump into today's show. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And in today's episode, we are going to be looking at how we can start getting the cash flowing again inside our businesses and what we can do to increase our revenue streams. It has been difficult, hugely difficult, and we will probably be saying this for at least the next 12 months, how difficult it has been for our industry. And it is absolutely devastating that some vendors haven't made it. Some vendors are barely holding on. So we really need to look at ways to get the cash flowing again. The thing is, weddings tend to be an expensive purchase for many, and with so many vendors to pay, it can be overwhelming for clients too, especially with furlough and redundancies. So let's see if we can try and make things easier on everyone. We will also look at opportunities to supplement your income and support you as you get back to your regular cash flow that you're used to. So let's jump in. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that I do have a free download for this episode. It's Increase Your Income with These 5 Ideas, and it's a guided brainstorm to help you uncover untapped financial potential. So you can grab that at the link in the show notes, or you can head directly to bit.ly/5WIYI. That's 5WIYI. It's all lowercase letters. So today I want to dive in deeper into the idea of payment plans. If you haven't heard me speak about this before, then listen in, my friend. And if you have listened, then listen in again. Payment plans help both you and your clients, but you need to have your contract set up correctly too. So if you missed my episode with your legal fairy godmother, Heather Stanford, then take a listen. It was episode 48. I will link it in the show notes. So you are within your right to withhold some money after people cancel, especially if they are very close to the date of use. So you will find that if you go onto booking.com, they have their free cancellation option, but there is also options there where free cancellation isn't offered. And if you cancel within a week, they'll retain 50% of the amount. And if you cancel 24 hours, up to 24 hours before in that week, they will retain the whole night's fee. So you can do things like this with your bookings because you've saved the date for them, you've done the prep work, you've done the admin up to that point, and what is the likelihood of you being able to rebook that date if you are 3 or 6 months out from that date? It's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to find a couple to fill that spot at the same level. You might be able to do a last minute wedding where they're just looking for a very small amount of time, a small a small last minute gig, but it's not likely that you're going to be able to find a wedding that is of the exact same value to replace it at those dates. So you need to be compensated for your loss of earnings. I would definitely suggest speaking with Stanford Gould about what is reasonable in this area and how you need to word your contracts to make sure that it all works for both you and the client. You can also have it written that you'll make every effort to rebook the date, and if you do, you'll refund the monies minus the costs of the work you've already done. So also discuss that with her and her team and how you would word that in your contract. I would also suggest really focusing on the difference between a deposit and a retainer. If you are citing a non-refundable deposit, you might come unstuck, as many did during the last 16 months. Deposits have to be protected, and this involves separate accounts where they are stored and not touched until the product or service is delivered. So look into that because it is really important. I am going to today be talking about retainers because I think that is a better way of funding our businesses. So I am going to use the word retainer, not deposit, because they are two separate things. Now let's look at payment plans. There are two ways I'd suggest looking at them, but of course you can do your own thing. And the very important thing to remember is that payment plans shouldn't be longer than 12 months and shouldn't incur interest. If they do, you need to start speaking to the Financial Services Authority because you're getting into the loan and banking territory there, and that is not what I am talking about. Most vendors don't deal with interest. Most vendors will have a deposit at the beginning and then a final payment a month before the wedding occurs. This can cause a lot of financial difficulties for people. It can put a strain on the clients because they've got to come up with this huge sum at the end of when they're sort of paying sort of 20 different vendors and they're all asking for the money the month of the wedding. But also it can put a financial strain on you as the vendor because you are constantly waiting for that final payment. So that's why payment plans can be really useful. So here's how I would do it. I would have the retainer set to 20% of the highest package price you have, or the average of your higher spend clients. So if you look back over the last 12 months, but that's probably not appropriate. So if you look back at the 12 months before COVID, what were sort of the highest third of your customers spending? Calculate that up. Divide it by that number of clients and that will be your average high-end spend. So I would say your retainer should be 20% of that. So for example, if your largest package was £1,500 or the average of what your clients spend at the top end was £1,500, you would look at a retainer of £300. The retainer is your fee to hold the date for them and do the initial admin work involved, meetings, paperwork, research, etc. Your retainer is a separate fee to the package cost. That's really important. It is a separate fee to your package costs. So you can do one of two things here. You can take the 300 off the 1,500. So you would have a retainer of £300 and your top package would be £1,200. Or if you think it's time to raise your prices, you can have £300 as your retainer and the package price is £1,500. So it depends on where you are and what you feel is right within your business. If it is time for a price rise, then this would be a good way of doing it and still having the prices look the same. But it is very important that you make sure that it is clear to your clients, especially if it's on your website and in your brochures, that it is explained what you mean by a retainer. You could have it that you've got your top package is £1,500, including the retainer, if you want to not increase your prices. Or if you are increasing, it's £1,500 plus the retainer. Or you could have it written at the bottom of your brochure or the website page where it is written, a non-refundable retainer is required for all bookings at £300. This is on top of the above package prices. Or you could say a non-refundable retainer of £300 is required to secure all bookings and it is included in the above package prices. So at the end of the day, it just depends on how you want to do it, whether you want to take the prices that you are charging now, leave them as they are, and then put the retainer on top because you're looking to increase your prices a little bit anyway, or whether you want to give that illusion of the packages being a lesser cost and taking that retainer out of it. But the idea of a retainer is it is a separate fee. So it's completely separate to the package that they're paying for. It is the fee for the administration, it's the fee for the research, it's the fee for holding that date. Then the money they pay for the package is whatever it is that you do for them. The photography, the editing, the floristry, the flower costs, and all of that comes in with the package price. So they are two completely separate fees. And you need to make that clear on your website and in your contracts that they are two separate fees. And because the retainer is there to hold the date and do the admin work and the research that's involved in that initial period, it is non-refundable. You are already doing and going to do the work that £300 is going to cover. Now, obviously, this is just a number that I'm just giving an example here. Your number may be different. So, as I say, make it very clear to them on your website and in your brochures that you do have a retainer fee and that it is separate from the package prices, or it is included in the price they see under each package, so that they are not blindsided by this extra cost. So because that 300 is non-refundable, then this money can go directly into your cash flow. Whereas, like I said in the beginning, if it's a deposit, it can't go straight into your workflow. It has to go into a separate account and be held until the point of the service or product being delivered. So you can put this 300 directly into your cash flow if you are having it as a retainer. So then we move into the actual payment planning part of this. So you need to make sure that your contract states clearly at what point they forfeit monies already paid. So for example, you may say that at 6 months out, 50% of the money due will be forfeited by the couple, because the likelihood of you being able to rebook a wedding to the same value 6 months out is greatly reduced. You may also then say that at 3 months out, they forfeit 75% of the total value, because again, the chances of you replacing that income are even slimmer at that point. And then the majority of people will already say that at 1 month before the wedding, if any cancellations happen within that time frame, that no monies will be returned and that you forfeit it, because the likelihood is that if you are a florist or a caterer, you will have already placed orders for the products that you need to create that day, so you have got to pay that money out already, and it is highly unlikely that you're going to be able to book a wedding within a month that is going to want the products that you've already bought. So that is an example of the levels that you might have in your contract. So you need to make sure that you have that money in your account at those points of cancellation. So again, go back to the episode with Heather, the Legal Fairy Godmother, episode 48 for more detail on that. So you can do this in two ways. Or these are the two ways that I'm going to share with you. So for example, if we're going to take our example of a £300 retainer and a £1,500 package. So they've already paid the 300, that money is gone. That's not going back to them, that's gone straight into your workflow. Now you've got £1,500 that is due before the wedding. So if you want to have a 6-month marker where 50% of the money is going to be retained at that point, then that's going to be £750 that you want to keep. So what you can do is you can divide that £700 between the months you have left. Like if you go from 6 months out from the wedding back to where they're booking, how many months is that? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? are they booking sort of 18 months ahead? So go from the 6 months before the wedding mark up to the start of the next month from the point where they're booking. So if they were booking today, we would be going to the 1st of August as our start date. And then if they were getting married next August, then that would be 12 months before it's due. Does that make sense? I hope so. It's all going to be written in the show notes, so you can come back to it and have a look. But for an example, if they are booking you 18 months before the wedding, so 6 months before the wedding starts is a 12-month period. Yeah, so 18 months from the 18th month, which is the month you're currently in, up until 6 months before the wedding is 12 months. But they've already paid you the retainer in the first month, so the payment is going to start next month. That's 11 months worth of payments that they're going to be making between now and the 6-month point. So 750, which is the amount you need to have in your possession at that point, divided by the 11 months is £68.18 per month. So that would be the standing order you would want them to set up. You would then require a one-off payment 3 months before the wedding of £375, and then that makes up the 75% that you would keep if they cancelled between 3 months and 1 month. And then you would require another one-off payment of £375 the month before the wedding. So with that one, you have a few different points where you have to be involved in that. Obviously, they need to set up the standing order, then they're going to pay those 11 payments, but then you need to remember to go back and ask them for the 3-month payment, and you need to remember to go back and ask them for the 1-month payment. So the way I would do it is, instead, I would look at the 75% mark, the 3-month mark. How much money do you need to have by then? So if it is a £1,500 package, you need to have £1,125 in your bank at that 3-month mark. Okay, so again, you are going to divide the number of months between the 3-month mark and when they book. But remember, you can only have a 12-month payment plan. So if we are 18 months out from the wedding, then a 3-month plan is going to be 15 months. So that's too long. So we just go with the maximum of 12. So 12 months payments, and they would start the following month after they book. So the 12 months would start then. Dividing 1,125 by 12 is a £93.75 payment each month. And then the final payment of £375 would be due the month before the wedding. So this just makes it a lot easier for you because you haven't got to do those 2 final payments. It's just going to be divided up. So you are actually going to have more money at the 50% point, the 6 months before, than you need to cover. So if they did cancel, you would probably actually be refunding them a little bit of money, but you're making sure that you've got that money. So you will be holding almost the entire 75% at the 6-month mark. So that just means that you have got all of your money ready, that if they did cancel, you have got all the money in your possession that you need, and you can refund them anything that they are owed back. So this is the simplest and easiest and requires the least amount of effort, as they're doing 12 months payment and then you're collecting one final payment rather than 2. This way, it does mean if they cancel at the 6-month mark, you will have slightly less than the 50% in some cases if the wedding is 15 months out or less. But with the 18 months, you're going to actually be holding almost 75%. So it just depends on how many months, how many payments you're taking beforehand. If you can get the 12 months worth of payments in beforehand, then you're pretty golden. I would say that you can then use the money that you're getting in every month as your cash flow. But what I would also say is be cautious and build a contingency pot. So it is not likely that if you've got 20 weddings on your books, that 20 weddings are going to cancel. But you need to be prepared for some cancellations. So you need to be building up a pot of money. That means that if somebody does cancel 6 months out from their wedding, you'll be able to give them their money back that they need. This is why I do it this way, is because you're not going to be holding too much money that you might have to pay back. You don't want to be in that position where you're taking all the money up front, for example, and then having to pay some back at some point. So by doing it in this way, you can actually just hold on to the money that you are owed, and there's sort of less likelihood of cancellations coming into effect where you're going to have to return any of the money. So just be careful there. And if you are going to put the money directly into your cash flow, which is probably going to be the case for most people at the moment, just try to build in a contingency pot. So if anybody does cancel, you've got some money you can pull on if you need to. The great thing about this is you're going to have more regular income coming in, and you're going to be able to pay yourself better. So one of the important things to remember when you're in business is to pay yourself first. It's something we really don't do. We pay all the business expenses, we pay this bill, we pay that bill, we need a new lens, we need some new tools, we need this, we need that, and all of a sudden all the money's gone and you have nothing left for yourself. So just make sure that you are building in your own wage into the amounts that you're getting in each month. And by having these monthly payments come in, you know, when one couple finishes paying their payment plan, another couple's going to come in and be booked. So you're always going to have this rotation. So you will start to get a sort of average amount that you're going to be working with, because you're constantly going to be having new clients come in. So this monthly amount can get quite big, and it just helps you to sort of plan a little bit better. So I think it's a great option for getting money into the business and start getting moving again, and a great option for your clients who aren't going to be having to try and find, you know, £1,200 a month before their wedding on top of the final payments for 20 other vendors. So have a look at how you might implement payment plans. As I say, all of this information will be in the show notes, all my calculations, so you can see what it looks like. You can put in your numbers and have a play with your calculator. It might not be your thing. It is my thing. I absolutely love playing with figures, but it is really important to know your numbers. And as we get back into the swing of things with more people booking, we're going to be looking at weddings for sort of 2022 and 2023. You know, it's a great opportunity to start implementing payment plans for those weddings now, so that you can get that cash flow flowing again. So finally, I want to take a look at other revenue streams that might be able to give you a quicker return on investment. So have you thought about doing a workshop? This works really, really well for photographers, florists, cake makers, and stationers. So let me just run through a couple of examples. So with a photographer, you could do a beginner's digital camera day, and you could get people in £50 a head, come along to this location. We will do some shooting, explain the basics of camera work, aperture, depth of field, f-stops, all of that. Explain that basic stuff, get them to take some pictures, help them with the settings on their cameras, and help to get them to take better pictures with their cameras. There are plenty of people out there with a DSLR that would like to get better at using it and take it off of automatic. This would be a great option for photographers. You could do more in-depth, more specialized, more specific workshops, as well as that basic digital. But I mean, it's endless, the possibilities there. Florists, I know a lot of you will do this already. I know a friend of mine does, and at Christmas she will do wreath making workshops. Well, you can do that at any time of the year. My mum quite likes to have a wreath on her door at different times of the year, just to sort of be a bit festive, and it's something that people enjoy doing. So definitely around Easter wreaths are quite popular. At the moment, we're in the summer season, so it may be that you are looking at something slightly different to do with people. Maybe a quick flower arranging tutorial workshop so that they can learn how to make their flowers look better in their vases. Things like that you could do right now, that you could do during the week. sort of in the evening. The florist workshop could certainly take place in the evening, whereas a photographer probably needs a daytime for the lighting situation, unless you've got a studio you can invite people to, and definitely sort of build in that. And the great thing about it for florists especially is that Christmas, doing table decorations for the Christmas table, doing wreaths for the front door. There is endless possibilities for workshops there, and it's all over the more quiet season for weddings. So you can really sort of go to town on these workshops and get loads of them done to sort of help tide you over that winter period. Then cake makers, obviously decorating, doing sort of decorating of cupcakes or doing flower workshops. So making icing flowers and things like that. These are all things that people really enjoy doing. Doesn't mean they're going to go off and be cake makers themselves. Just people like to be crafty. So don't think of it as, oh my gosh, I'm going to train all these people on how to do this stuff and then they're going to come and steal my job. It's not that. This is a hobby for them. This is something that they just enjoy doing and they want to learn and get better at for themselves. Stationers, card making, especially around Christmas time, but anytime really, people want to learn how to use different tools for making cards for themselves so they can make birthday cards and things for their friends. So that would be a great opportunity for you to get together with them, maybe help them use Canva to create cards, or actually get down with the sort of handmade papers and things and show them how different things go together, and just do a workshop. And these things don't have to be sort of an education based thing. It could just be, come and see what I've got, come and talk to me, come and get some expert advice with what you're thinking. So it doesn't have to be too heavy on the education. You could offer one-to-one guidance. That would entail a higher price tag. So if somebody wanted to hire you for the day to give them one-to-one tutorial on how to use their camera, you could charge a higher price for that. You could also do small video courses and people could then buy them directly off your website, so they're done once and they're making you money continually. If your trade doesn't lend itself to this kind of workshop, so for instance maybe a celebrant wouldn't have this opportunity, or somebody who is in wedding transport might not have this opportunity, then do you have a hobby that you could help people with? You could facilitate craft days, so get people all together and talk about it. If it's something that you're really passionate about and you have quite a good overview of, then you can certainly get people together, again, not necessarily in a full-on this is an education workshop, but more as a this is us coming together as a community of crafters, enjoying some time together, doing what we love to do. And you can go around, just check on people, offer advice if they need any, but they will also give each other advice as well. So it's just sort of getting to know new people, sort of a networking type thing. You could even start a regular club. If you get a group of people together and they really get on well, you could turn it into a club that you are charging them to attend the club, and people do that as well. So these are smaller money makers, but they can just help relieve some of the current pressures that we have on us at the moment when it comes to our finances. Don't forget, there's a free download, Increase Your Income with these 5 ideas, and that elaborates on these extra income revenue streams. And like I say, it's a guided brainstorm session, so it will help you dig a little deeper to uncover what extra opportunities you might have. So head over to bit.ly/5WIYI to download that. It will be in the show notes for you. So today we have looked at how you might implement payment plans into your workflow and how they can help get cash flowing inside your business again. And we've also touched on other ways that you could create extra income to relieve the current pressures. I hope it helped. If you do have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram at DonnaSPWV. I would absolutely absolutely love to have a conversation with you. Don't forget to head to the show notes. All the calculations will be laid out there for you, as well as the link to that free download. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button where you listen so you don't miss an episode, or where you find the show notes, there will be the ability to sign up to get podcast notifications so you don't miss a thing. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.